Welcome to Undressing Intimacy, where we cut through the bullshit
Greggy,
so we can get naked.
you can't say that.
Why not? How would you say it then?
Well, maybe more like, welcome to Undressing Intimacy, where we undress emotionally so we can undress physically.
That's exactly what I said. Not sure what the problem is. Welcome, everyone, to our podcast. We are so excited today. We have a guest, one of our favorite authors of the book Replenished. We've been able to use that in our marriage, and we love to share it with you. We also have it up on our website under resources. If you want to go take a look at it and click on it, we'll give you a link to purchase that book. But we'd like to get started with Amy introducing Miss Tammy Hill.
We are, like Greg said, super excited to have Tammy Hill with us. She is a licensed marriage and family therapist who also has her American Association of Sexual Educators, Counselors, and Therapists. The acronym is ASECT. It's kind of
that's a mouthful, huh?
It's a mouthful, but that means she's worked really hard to know all of the things about how to help couples in their sexual intimacy. She also has a private practice and teaches at Brigham Young University in a sexuality course. And as we mentioned, is the author of the Replenish book, which is all about how to create sexual fulfillment in marriage. And if you're watching on the YouTube, I'm holding it up. You can see all of the dog ears and tags. We have been through this book. And one of the things that I really love about it is how every chapter is pretty much standalone, and every chapter has ideas and things to think about, things to work on, things to practice, and how well Tammy is able to walk you through so many different experiences. So it's a really great how to and why and what. So can't say enough good things about that. So we're super excited to have her here today to talk live about some really fun things.
Yeah, Tammy, tell us a little about yourself and where this book came from and why we're here.
Okay, so I'm an ASEC certified sexual educator, just to make sure that your listeners understand what that means. So I retired actually from BYU last year. And so my husband and I are getting ready to leave and serve a mission. We've been called to teach at BYU Hawaii. So we'll be moving over there this year. Replenish took me 7 years to write it. I'm a busy mom, and so it just seemed like it was taking me so long to get it finished. And I asked Jeff if he would take me to Hawaii for 6 weeks and I would finish it in that time. And so in 2022, he did just that. And I finished the work and we got it published, and it's sold about 27,000 copies now, which I'm really excited about for an LDS author. That seems to be quite a bit of books to sell. So I'm proud of my work. I have never felt like there was really a book for LDS couples that helped with their sexuality. I think there's wonderful people who've written some really good things, but incomplete things. And so to write a book that not only taught principles, but also gave experiential activities and ideas so couples could actually know what to do in the bedroom, what they were reading about. And that sometimes is hard, especially for really conservative Christians, to think about, well, how do I do that? That's good information, but what am I supposed to do next? And so to me, having the experiential piece of the book was really important, because once couples start practicing and trying things a little differently, they're going to have a lot of different types of feelings arise. It can be such a bonding way, especially what we're going to discuss today as far as tantric sex or slow sex, that really becomes a spiritual sexual journey together.
Yeah, absolutely. We noticed as we went through the book that was just it, right? It was so practical, and it not only was in a practical way, but it also led you through in the steps. And so it really helped us go through and try things that we had never been successful at before. So we've had actual practical application of this book, and we really, really appreciate it.
Yes, we do.
Thank you.
So today we actually wanted to explore with you, since you are so capable of helping walk couples through, we wanted to explore a completely different type of intimacy. I think often in our Western world, the way that we see intimacy portrayed in, whether it's social media or movies or what have you, TV shows, it's very fast, it's very passionate, it's very orgasm focused. There can be a lot of expectation or pressure on performance. And for so many couples, obviously that presents a lot of difficulties because we're normal, ordinary people. And to have you know, this type of intimacy, while it's not necessarily bad, is really just not sustainable in everyday living in life. It'd be like having a 5-course meal every night for dinner. And, sometimes we have grilled cheese. And we don't have the 5-course meal. And so they kind of feel like, I see couples like, well, what else is there? And are there other ways? And are there ways, especially as I coach my women, where women tend to be a little bit more attuned, even maybe to the emotional experience of sexual intimacy? They're looking for more than just positions and bodies and orgasm focus. I think men are too, but I think typically it's the women who are talking about it more. And so we wanted to bring you on and talk about a different framing or understanding of what sexual intimacy could look like, and where you're allowed to bring your mind and your heart and allow those to lead the body instead of the body only leading. Not that the body is bad. We love the body. We're thankful for the body and all of its parts. But kind of walk us through what you call this type of sexual intimacy and how it's different than this Western focus.
Awesome. You said a lot of important things, so I hope I address all of it. I will, just for a little history of how I got interested in tantric sex, is I've had my background in educationally for many years, and about 12 years ago, I was having chronic back pain and needed to have back surgery, but was trying to postpone doing that as long as possible. But making love the way that we knew how to make love in this Western world, like you were mentioning, was created a lot of pain for me in my back. And so I started doing research to find out ways to help couples have sexual experiences for those who experience chronic pain. And that is when I really discovered tantric sex. I love the work of Diana Richardson. I recommend all of her books. But I started reading one of her books, and it was just so eye-opening to me, and it was a totally new way of making love than I had ever experienced before. I liked it. For me, this is what it felt like. Like, you live in a home and you clean that home, you know every square inch of that home, and then one day, all of a sudden, you see this door that you never noticed before. And you open the door, and there's a whole new wing to your house. And to me, that's how tantric lovemaking became, like a whole new wing to the lovemaking that we shared. And so the focus of Eastern, it's generally Buddhist or Hinduism type of focus, lovemaking is focusing on connection, mindfulness. There is definitely the sexual aspect of it with bodies being joined, slowing down, being more in the moment, and making love in, I call it slow sex, having slow sex. And it is wonderful. It is a wonderful way for couples to be able to share love. It's more spiritually connecting. It is often mind blowing, in not that you're having fireworks and all that from an orgasm, which I'm not anti orgasm. Those are awesome too, right? But that this is a new way of making love that actually has a lot more, for spiritual people, has a lot more context. I think there's a lot more meat involved with it because it becomes something that you create together, when rather than something you're doing. for each other.
Yeah, I think, we talk about making this sexual playground as a couple and working together to understand what is in those bounds and being willing to push out other places and maybe try new things together in this playground. I think it fits perfect into the way you talk about it, right? Because we're not saying that, hey, you have to abandon all these practices that you enjoy and orgasms are bad, but why not add another set to the playground? Why not push that other wing out and have some options to be able to expand yourself? And so we love this concept that you're saying here about how, hey, there's all these things we can do to be connected, and here's a new one. So yeah, help us get there. We're excited.
Yeah, tell us a little bit more about who this style, like you mentioned, you started researching this because of chronic back pain. And definitely think pain can play into intimacy and can be a stopper or a break. Some people have some type of health thing, or they have pain during intercourse, or different things that can come up. Maybe they have, is it vaginismus? I'm not saying that right. Is that right? Oh, vaginismus, and just different, maybe there's ED that appears, or different things that seem like, oh no, this could be the end of our sexual experience together. But it's really not. It just is an invitation to explore. And even if you're experiencing none of those, this is still an invitation to explore.
Yeah, it is. So slow sex obviously is going to be more helpful for women than it will be for men as far as being able to be fully aroused. So there's a whole lot of information to talk about. I don't know how much history you want to go into, but briefly, for us here in the Western world, there really hasn't been any type of sexual research done on women until the very first article and publication that incorporated the entire clitoral complex was in 2014, which was also the very first year I taught healthy sexuality at BYU. And so we have had a lack of information. Women have often felt like they're broken or they're the low desire partner. And it's not because they actually are, it's because their sexual response is very different than a man's. Although we have learned here about the male sexual response cycle because the first sexologists did their research only on men. And so we know it was desire, arousal, orgasm, resolution, right? But what we know, Beverly Whipple is a great sexology that studied female sexual response, and she published around 2006 an article that really has found a lot more support for it empirically, is that women have a sexual response cycle that begins with arousal, then desire, then orgasm, and resolution. So the first two are completely opposite. Men desire, women arousal, desire. So basically, the length of time that a woman is getting aroused, the more that increases that time that is spent to help her become increasingly towards the orgasmic threshold, the more enjoyable this experience is going to be for her. And so slowing down, connecting in with the way that we start, often just if you're wanting kind of how it goes, you start by
Yeah, give us a kind of a map. You're so good at laying out a landscape and showing, what to expect. And obviously these aren't like rigid, step by step, but kind of just give us a lay of what slow sex or tantric sex.
Before we do that, let me speak to my male counterparts out there. Do not tune out at this point, because I guarantee you what I have learned is if we could lean into the female sexuality, it's going to pay off huge dividends for the man. And I've said this in our previous podcast, right? As soon as I got out of the way and let Amy kind of lead in her desire, it completely blew my mind. It was way better than all the fantasies that I had in my head. And believe me, us men, high desire, we have them all the time. So they're going on constantly, and nothing can be better in doing that. So as we get on to talking about this, please, my male counterparts, don't tune out. This is going to be really, really, really important for you.
Yeah.
So Tammy, let's walk through this.
Okay, I'm going to stop though, because you just said something so important, Greg, and that is that men, you're just as important here. We're both important. We need each other in order for both of us to feel like this is a passionate, pleasurable experience. And so I appreciate what you're saying is, men, don't tune out. Stay here. The research shows that the low desire partner, which typically, like we said, is women, the reason they're low desire partner typically is because they're having poor quality sex, especially if their sexual debut, like honeymoon sex, was really painful, uncomfortable, lack of pleasure for a woman. Her tendency to be low desire throughout the lifespan is going to be great. So the more you can make this, and she starts becoming engaged with probably a lot of times for the first time in her own body and start experiencing pleasure, both of you are going to be experiencing much more pleasure together. There's not going to be the problem of a low desire partner because,
It's so
right,
true.
it changes.
Yep. It does change. We have witnessed that in our own marriage, right?
Mhm.
If we talk about it, I mean, we're traditionally, I was the high desire and Amy was the low desire partner, as you said. On all those years that we had participated in this, and Amy didn't even think that desire was for her. Like she was like, "This is just for you," and that was an awful pattern to be in because I felt like I was taking from her and
Mhm.
not getting anywhere. But when we've changed this, it's exactly what you're saying, Tammy. Yeah, I'm probably still sometimes on the higher desire, but it has really evened out where it's definitely not a desire differential like as it was before.
Right.
Mhm. So we don't even refer to that anymore, that framing. It's kind
Yeah.
of just
Mhm.
my desire does look a little different than his, but we both understand and know that we desire each other and the intimacy that we can
Mhm.
create. And so there's not a high low there. There just is desire, and his way of showing is maybe a little different than mine, but there's no judgment of either of
Love that.
those.
I love.
All right, you got us hooked. Let's go.
So as far as tantric sex is concerned, and like Amy mentioned, these don't have to be like in order, although number one needs to pretty much be number one. And that is that when you come
Okay.
together, be clean so you feel confident and smell fresh. And then together, you can lay together in bed, but don't even touch for a little while. Do all of this breathing and turn in towards yourself, relax, tune into what you're feeling, turn off the brain, and just really get into your breath and what it is your experience is going to be. And sometimes that takes, for me, it takes about 5 minutes to kind of engage myself and put away the day and then roll towards each other. Usually, I like couples to start with the eyes, just gazing. I call it gazing. If you can spend some time gazing at each other. A lot of couples think this is weird and they feel uncomfortable doing it. But the eyes really genuinely are the window to the soul. And if you're going to share your body with this person, you might as well share your soul as well, right?
Mhm.
So turn towards
Mhm.
each other and spend some time gazing into one another's eyes, comfortably touching, having skin to skin contact. The brain is the largest sex organ, so if you can totally be tuned into what it is you're experiencing, that will be helpful. But also the skin is the largest organ of the body. So the more skin to skin touch that we have going on, all of those attachment and bonding neurotransmitters and hormones that our brains have are going to be on fire, and that we need that. Women in particular need to know that connection and that safety and that peace in order to share and open themselves up. And so being there together, gazing, start breathing, maybe start inhaling and exhaling, doing some breath work with each other, start kissing, just slowly kissing, any type of touch. I teach I'm doing a Valentine's Making Love retreat next weekend, and it will be talking all about learning the erogenous zones and how to touch different
Mhm.
ways for the erogenous zones. That's an important thing. One basic difference with slow sex is, in that's different than Western sex, is that in Western sex, the genitals work against each other. So we have a vagina that is the receptor of a penis. And then there's thrusting motion back and forth. And so they're kind of working against each other. In tantric sex or in slow sex, the genitals generally stay connected and the bodies are shifting around the genital connection. And then there's times just get in a new position and then insert it again. And then you breathe into that position. The woman is always trying to open up the pelvis, think of opening up the pelvic floor as you're shifting. The man, most of the time, men feel this real tightness in the rectum and anus because they're trying to keep their erection and maintain their erection. So that's their pelvic floor a lot of times is really tight because they feel like they have to have this amazing erection, which again, Western sex history has told us. But for men to be able to relax and not feel so tight there, they also are going to start experiencing things. And it takes practice, just like anything. The first time you do it, you might think, this is weird. I don't like it. I know the first time I tried to ride a bicycle, I couldn't. I couldn't for a long time. The first time that I watercolor painted, it was horrible. I mean, there's just we learn and grow, and that's the same with this type of lovemaking is to just learn and grow together. What will start happening is that you're going to not go over the orgasm threshold. Sometimes you might, and that's totally fine. But the goal is to stay in this hot zone from going from arousal, there's the arousal threshold and the orgasm threshold. What orgasm threshold that we're learning is get over that as fast as possible so you have an orgasm and you're done. What
Mhm.
slow sex is get aroused and then stay below the orgasm threshold so that you stay in this hot, warm zone for as long as possible. Just keep that eros energy flowing between the two of you with this great connection. And the longer that you're able to start doing that, you will start feeling new sensations within the body that are very, very fulfilling, like an orgasm is fulfilling. It's not like an orgasm, but there's different sensations that you'll feel. One in particular, the woman's cervix will actually start pulling down and like magnetically bringing the penis up into it. And the penis grows within the body, the woman's body. And that's very arousing and fun. And there's so many things that you can start learning together in this new way of making love and never staying in this zone. One of the beautiful things is that you are orgasmic. I call that being orgasmic. And that's when you kind of were feeling a lot of the way you were feeling before you got married or when you were first married and couldn't wait to get together and make out and you just had all this energy, sexual energy. That's kind of what tantric sex does. It gives you this space that is extended for that sexual energy that you can create together. So when you wrap things up and you're done, and sometimes you orgasm, other times you don't, the goal is not to orgasm and to try this for like 6 or 7 days and maybe orgasm on the seventh or eighth day. But keep this
Mhm.
way, and then you create this amazing space for a lot of sexual energy and tension that reverberates within your relationship. It is the replenishment that I'm talking about in Replenish, where you're bringing this really good
Mhm.
energy into your relationship, into your home. Your children are seeing you flirt with each other and kind of touch each other and get excited to be by each other. And they're thinking, oh, marriage looks kind of fun, you know? And so there's just there's just a lot of goodness that can come from starting to incorporate an Eastern style of lovemaking.
Yeah, I find it fascinating here, especially as you started out. You talked about, hey, the first thing you need to do besides getting clean, we all understand that. But second thing after that was to spend some time getting into
Mhm,
yourself. And we have known this as relationship coaches in the broader sense, right?
mhm.
We have taught our couples that if you can't hold on to yourself, if you can't be solid in yourself, then there's no way you're going to go to the next level and be able to give to the next person. So that just really caught my attention because oftentimes we're like, okay, we're going to make love, bam, we're into it, right? And we're getting into this. But so I really love the concept, and I can't wait to try it, is sitting and taking some time of centering yourself and coming into yourself. And I thought that was fascinating that you brought that up.
Oh, thank you. And what I learned through this transition 12 years ago with a tantric lovemaking, and I've gone to lovemaking retreats in Switzerland. I've helped teach different things in Switzerland as well. What I've learned is that when we are focused on what we are experiencing, we become love. We're not doing sex. We become sex or we become love. We're
Mhm.
really tuned.
It's like embodying it.
Yeah, it's totally it's embodying this goodness that we've been created divinely, I believe, for us to instead. I just think so often, particularly in the Western world, it's about performance. Men in particular have pressure that they have
You're so right.
It's about getting rid of it,
Yeah.
getting to a finish line, and instead of that integration of allowing it to be in you and knowing that your body is sort of the container for this
Mhm.
and wholesome, energetic, alive part of you, and then you're sharing it with your spouse, and it's bringing like all this aliveness
Totally.
between you, but you don't have to extinguish it or like get anywhere with it. Like you get to just
Yeah.
be in it.
It's antithetical to what we've been taught as men, to be honest
Right.
with you, because we've been taught that our sexuality is bad and dangerous and that we need to avoid that. And this is really going back to the point of knowing, no, it's not. It's that life-giving force that we can stoke and don't need to be afraid of. We don't need to go get it and be done and do it. We can actually grow it. We can nurture it and have it be part of it. I laughed. I thought to myself when you said, 7 days, I thought, no, it took God 7 days to create the world. Why not 7 days to have an orgasm, right? So I think that's a pretty good pattern in my mind for sure.
Well, I like
Totally
7 days because it's like it's just fun energy all week long, and you know that there's orgasm's lovely. We all enjoy a good orgasm, right? But we know
Yep.
that it's going to happen. It's not like it's never gonna happen. And so it builds up, builds up until when you do have that orgasm, it's just so much more powerful and it comes a lot more naturally because you've already kind of built up all this energy along the way.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, I know myself, I have had to learn because before the pattern was for 16, 17 years was the service sex that we went
The
through,
duty
right?
sex.
And duty sex. And my only measurement at the time was, did Amy have an orgasm? And really what I didn't realize is that wasn't even a measurement because she couldn't remember. It wasn't good for her. Even if she
I was
did.
dissociating
Yeah.
in the experience because I wasn't able actually to feel safe. But anyway, so
and
yeah.
and I've had to learn now that there's odd times when it won't happen, and I think I come back and are you okay? Are you good? And I've had to teach myself that that isn't the measuring stick,
Mhm.
really, for a good sexual encounter. It really is this connection thing, and so I love this concept of being able to do this on both sides, from the male and female perspective, and really nurture this energy, this
It
eroticism.
is.
And so many of my men that I coach are afraid of being in their sexual energy. Women are afraid that they have to extinguish it. Men are afraid they have to extinguish it. And this allows it to be alive and within you and between you. And that, I mean, you think of what Eros energy is, it's life force, it's creativeness, it's aliveness, it's like abundance, it's communing. And so why wouldn't we want all of those things to be extended? Why would we want to like rush through that?
I
There's so many things we rush
Yeah.
through.
To me, that's what replenish means. I had a really, for the title of my book, I had a really profound experience studying the creation where I realized in the creation, God commanded the animals to multiply. And then when the humans, Adam and Eve, they were commanded to multiply and replenish. And it was like a light switch went on into my mind that we have the capacity within us to do much more than just multiply. I think we're commanded to learn to replenish together in this beautiful way. And that requires communication, it requires trust, all the things that make up a solid relationship. It requires that. And I think that's part of us becoming more like God.
Absolutely. I mean, that's something we've had to teach our clients and everyone, is that it's not a concept they think about, right?
Mhm.
Like, especially for a woman, like, I'm going to go to the bed and have this sexual encounter and it's going to replenish me. I remember we were having this retreat, and every time we got into someone, it was always like, I'm too tired. I've had too much. I worked too hard with the kids. I don't
I'm
have time.
overtouched.
I've been touched too much. And we had one of our guests stand up and say, listen, he better take me to bed and spoil me, because it's the only place where I get to replenish
I
myself.
love
I have spent my whole day taking care of other people. I need to be taken care of. And I literally watched the women in the room's mind just almost
Like,
explode. And
wait, what?
what? And so it's oftentimes we do when we say, yes, this is a playground. This is a place we go to have fun, to replenish, to renew ourselves. it's such a different concept, especially for the ultra conservative Christian community, right? That there's something to this more than we've been talking about for years and years and years.
Mm-hmm.
For women, I love what you're saying, but for women, sexual touch should be replenishing. It shouldn't feel like this is another thing on my checklist to do. And so husbands
Right.
also need to realize that they need to know how to give this touch. And women need
Mm-hmm.
to
Yes.
learn how to give that touch.
Mm-hmm. And how to be present in it. We've taught a lot of our clients, and also we have learned, if you're thinking about your to-do list and did you call so and so and did you switch the laundry for this child, and you know and just all of the tasks that are constantly in our minds and in our mental load, then you're really absent and empty from that moment and that touch and that connection. And so much is just about allowing yourself to be present, to think about how much I adore and cherish this person and this opportunity to be with them.
Mhm.
Like, this is the moment right here, right now.
Yep.
Can I be in it, and can I enjoy it, and can I embody all that there is, because I have a body and he has a body, right? I think just losing my father young, to he died when I was 16 of a sudden heart attack, and it became very real to me that we don't have unlimited time here. There will be an end. And to be alive, to be in this day, to be in this moment, to have this spouse is a limited gift. And I get to enjoy it
I love that.
if I choose.
The same way, my first husband passed away unexpectedly of a heart attack fatally when he was 44.
Mm.
And that was a real shock. And so you're right. It is, this time is limited. I hope that we're really choosing to embrace it.
I think if we look at it from society and even our social aspect, I think amongst even our church communities, there's always a need to measure, right? Are we doing okay? And having a measuring stick. And as you've talked, that's the thing that keeps going through my mind. There's not a measuring stick in making love. And we've tried to do it. Like, I even when you talked about, hey guys, listen, you need to learn how to give touch. I think as males, we're looking to get that response. And am I doing okay? Like, how do I measure this is okay or not okay? And I think that mindset needs to completely change, right? It's not going into measure success. It's going into this to replenish us, to have this connection and be part of it. And it really is changing the whole mindset of why we have the sexual relationship altogether. And it is kind of going against some of the grain that we're used to in culture. I think that's great, because I think the culture needs to change too, to be honest with you. And if we can change it with our own relationships, it will help us probably see a little different way of not having to have a measuring stick and measure against each other of where we're at. We can really just have this great opportunity to replenish and be connected.
And just imagine if more parents felt this way, then the work that they did in their home would have a lot happier children, a lot happier families.
Yeah. No, I know that it's changed our relationship with our kids, to be honest with you, going through this work. I remember sitting across the table for my kids, and they're now all adults, right? But a few years ago, and they really expressed their appreciation. They're like, we've seen you change. And it's been an impact in our home too. They've been really proud of their mom to watch her go through this evolution and change her daughters. What an impact to our daughters to see what it's like to have a relationship. And so it 100% impacts the whole family unit.
Like,
when
as you
change it.
replenish each other, it starts to overflow and replenish into your family. And we've noticed it in friendships. And not that the intimacy physically changes, but your ability maybe to be present and to, I don't know, maybe love and care deeply, or
And being just maybe more honest, because it's like a
yeah.
more honest energy,
Yeah,
right?
I love what you're saying. I do. All I know is that the energy I get from what we share in an orgasmic zone is I am such a happier mother. I am more patient. I'm more excited about the things I need to do. It just is restorative. It gives me that energy to, because the work of the home, the labor of having family life is a lot for both moms and dads. And replenishment that we're talking about really can put good energy into the family.
Yeah, you did really come up with a perfect title for your book.
You did.
Yeah, it wasn't me. Thank you.
I was actually coaching in a men's group last week, and I talked about Eros energy and about it being this life force and replenishing, and how it helps you just solve problems more collaboratively and to be more engaged, and in all areas, whether it was work or family or between you as a couple. And one of the gentlemen in there was like, "What? Wait, what? Eros energy? Wait, what?" And he was like, "You're going to have to explain this to me. I have never seen, this, my sexuality as in this framing of being something that could help me be alive in all areas of my life." It was just so like disconnected from the whole person.
Yeah.
And so as we started to talk about it, he just got so excited. Like, this is the most amazing thing I've ever heard. And I think when we disconnect our sexuality from our mental and emotional and spiritual and physical, it really is a disservice to it, because it's really bringing all of those together and allowing that energy to flow between all of them.
Right. I think we've done it to try to control it, to be honest with, because we've been so afraid of it. That's the way we're taught, like it's something to be afraid of. And so we have to dissociate it and disconnect it so we can put it in this compartment and be safe. And when we realize that it's not the force that's going to send us down to Satan's slippery slope, right? Really us not taking advantage of it. That's Satan's slippery slope, to be honest with you. When we realize that, it makes it such a difference.
Yeah, I agree. You guys are doing such important work. Keep it up.
Well, we appreciate it.
We
Thank you.
appreciate your work.
Yes.
Your wisdom, your insight, your book. If people want to find you, Tammy, where's the best way to find you?
TammyHill.com, TammyHill is my website. I'm on Instagram, Tammy_Hill_LMFT, licensed marriage and family therapist. I have a podcast, Live Your Why. We talk about sexuality. Those are the ways to find me. I just published a few months ago a new book for the tweens called Your Body and the Plan of Happiness. And it really is perfect for these adolescents, young adolescents, to what you're exactly talking about, not feel ashamed or not feel afraid of the sexuality that they have, but to understand it's a good part of who they are and that they're accountable for how they use it. But it's I just am so proud of it. It took a while to get that one done because it's a graphic illustrated book. Anyway, I'm really proud of that. You can look for that book if you're interested too.
Awesome. We will go find that and we'll link that up on our website too, right next to your Replenish book. So they can go get both of them.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. It was such a pleasure to have you on, and we love your work and we appreciate everything you've done.
We appreciate all the heart and soul and faith and just all the goodness in it. So
thank you. That means a lot to me. Thank you so much.
Please come visit us on langfordlifecoaching.com. There's a button on every screen, and there's a reason why it's on every screen is because it's really important.
Consult.
It allows you to have a consult with us to be able to see where you are. Again, if we talk about it and we can't help you, so be it. We would love to talk to you, but we would really, really love you to join us in a consult so that we can see where you're at and help you move forward.
Yes. And we also really appreciate it when you leave a review or stars or share with your friends or subscribe and follow along. We love to have you on this journey. And we also appreciate if you email us your questions or where you might be stuck or something that you want us to discuss. Of course, we have lots of things that we can always talk about, but if you specifically have something and you feel like we haven't started talking about it or addressed it, or you feel like, what about ... just email us at Amy at Langford Life Coaching or Greg at Langford Life Coaching.
All right. Until next time.
Keep undressing your intimacy.
Bye-bye.